Hey Tamers, welcome back to Hero Games. We come back with you with our tested X-Antibody Dorumon deck, tournament tested, second place at our previous locals tournament this past weekend, going almost undefeated all the way up into the finals. This is by far have to be my favorite deck so far this set. This adds a lot of extra dynamic to black that we've not been seeing before, trading out a lot of the defensive options for, honestly, some really hard-hitting options. This honestly kind of feels like a red deck, particularly a Chumon deck at times, for how much security and deletion power we're adding into it. This is definitely a really good deck to try out this set, and it's got nothing but more and more support coming out in the future. But let's go ahead and dive right into it and check out what we got. For our level 2s, we are of course running 4 copies of the new Dorimon. Dorimon's inheritable when you place a card in the Digivolution sources of this Digimon. Draw 1 card. We are running 4 copies of the new Dorumon. Dorumon, on play, search top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 X-Antibody Digimon and 1 Coda, the new tamer, to your hand, and place the remaining at the bottom. And it's inheritable if you place if an effect places a Digivolution card under this Digimon, gain 1 memory. For our supporting level 3s, we are running 4 copies of ToyAgumon. This will give our bigger boys reboot, allowing our Digimon to unsuspend on our opponent's turn, allowing us to prepare ourselves for counterattack. Running 3 copies of the BT2 Gotsumon. He is a 3-drop blocker, 3k. This allows us to slow down decks and stop some early rookie rush swings. We are running 2 copies of Chumon as our Bokomon counter for the hybrid matchups. This will stop memory gain except for by tamer effect. We are running our 1 copy of Promo Sunarizamon. As I have said with all my black decks, run as many of this card as you have, but it is especially strong in this deck. The way we have this built, Promo Sunarizamon will always trigger with our black level 6s, so it will always give him Security Attack +1 or Piercing, depending on whether he's underneath or below him. Moving into our level 4s, we are running 4 copies of Dorugamon. Dorugamon, if this Digimon has a X-Antibody underneath his sources, or if he has a X-Antibody somewhere else on the field, he will have Blocker. And then while this Digimon has X-Antibody in his traits, all turns this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for its inheritable. We're running 3 copies of Dark Tyrannomon. While it does have the option of being a blocker to help slow down decks, predominantly we are running him for the slowdown mechanic, as well as the turbo option of being able to just evolve for 1. We are running 2 copies of the new black hybrid Grumblemon, allowing us to digivolve on our tamers and grumble for game, if you will. It's definitely a clutch card sometimes. We're running 2 copies of Mecha. This again is a way to slow down decks, those with Rookie Rush tactics or Diaboromon if you still have any of those in your locals. Mekanorimon will help keep you alive while you're building up your board. This effect is if this Digimon deletes something on your opponent's turn, it unsuspends, allowing it to repeatedly block as long as it doesn't die, for those unfamiliar. For our level 5s, we are running 4 copies of DoruGreymon. This is the good boy right here. This is where it starts getting good. This is our purple and yellow counter card. When digivolving, you may place 1 black X-Antibody card underneath the sources of this card. Doing so will prevent this card from having its DP reduced and being deleted by card effect until the end of the next turn. And it's inheritable. While this Digimon has X-Antibody in its traits, it gains Security Attack +1. So this is where we start seeing some of our combo potential here. Being able to have the Dorimon, the Dorimon, and something else underneath it. When we evolve into the DoruGreymon, we can put the Dorugamon or whatever else X-Antibody underneath it. And this will trigger the list of effects such as gain memory or draw a card, as well as his own effect. You could even put another Dorugaemon under him to have double stacking that Security Attack +1 if you want to go for that really aggressive play. Depending on your matchups, you may want to go for the extra DP gain, you may want to go for extra memory gain, you may want to go for extra Security Attack +1. There's a lot of options with it depending on what you have in your hand. And just to be clear, it has been ruled that if you place a Dorumon, for example, underneath, doing so allows you to activate that same Dorumon effect to gain the memory. This allows him to also be a turbo option. You can have a Dorumon under him to put him at, evolve for 3, gain 1, or evolve for 3, gain 2. If you have 2 Dorumons, he could essentially be a 1-cost evolve, possibly. our supporting level 5s, we are running 1 copy of WaruMonzaemon as just a default turbo option, as well as a 5 hard play cost, which isn't too bad if we need to hard play a 5. We're running 2 copies of the starter deck Megadramon to give our big boys blocker through the inheritable. This is a 3-2 evolve inheritable blocker. I like to place this with the ToyAgumon if possible, so that way we can still be able to attack and go back into a blocker state next turn, which is pretty good, especially since we're not even giving up the level 5 spot due to the other Digimon card effects. We can get the DoruGreymon still underneath it at the bottom there, not have to choose between blocker or security attack +1, which is nice. For our level 6, we are running 4 copies of the big boy Dorumon himself. Dorugamon is the start of the show here. So on our turn, all of our sources with X-Antibody in its traits, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. We combine that with the level 4 inheritable to give another plus 1000 DP. He's swinging way over 15k pretty easily, and it just grows and grows each time he attacks. Which leads me to his when attacking effect. When attacking, you may place 1 X-Antibody source underneath him and delete up to 2 Digimon with play costs equal to the number of sources underneath him. So we start up from the level 2, go into the 3, 4, evolve to the 5, place 1 underneath him, and evolve into the 6, attack, and place another one, for example. We are now having, pretend that's an X Digimon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's deleting 2 play cost 6 or less Digimon of your choice on his first swing. On his next swing, he's deleting play cost 7 or less. Next swing, it's 8 or less. It forces your opponent to have to deal with this card. Otherwise, he's going to be board wiping while checking for 2, 3, 4, even 5 security if you're building up the pieces. For our complementary level 6, we are running 3 copies of Alphamon. Alphamon is a 3-2 evolve. He has a security effect where he's objective security. If we have X-Antibody or a Royal Knight on either side of the field, then you may choose 12 of your opponent's Digimon to not be able to attack, and then this card goes to your hand. So if he's checked in security, it's not too bad, so he still deletes things that are 11k or less, and then level 6 right to your hand, which is pretty fantastic. You don't really hate seeing him in security, and then he can potentially stop your opponent from winning game if they already have all their pieces out and they need to swing with those. Alphamon will stop them from being able to swing, which is pretty nice. He will also work with all the inheritables. He won't add any additional inheritables once we get into him, but he will trigger still the security +1 and the plus 1000 from the DoruGreymon and the Dorugamon specifically. His when attacking effect is we can increase his DP by spending 1 memory per 1000 DP up to 5. This will allow us to also extra hit that Sunarizamon 13k, and then end of attack gain 2 memory. Either we can swing with him and just gain whole positive +2 memory, or we can use his when attacking effect, spend some memory to get the DP gain and offset that a bit with the +2 recovery. For our level 7s, we are running 2 copies of Omnimon Sword Defeat. If checked in security, this card will play without battling. When digivolving, you may delete 1 Tamer, which is pretty good for the hybrid matchup, and if deleted, you get to choose one of your opponent's Digimon to delete. So Sword Defeat is an excellent follow-up piece to any black or purple build. If checked in security, you now have a level 7 on board ready to go. This puts a ton of pressure on your opponent as they are forced to have to think about how they want to deal with it, because removing it removes one of their pieces as well. Now I will pause here. In my original theory build, there was 1 X-Antibody Omnimon that I would like to put on top of those. I originally took them out because I wasn't seeing it enough when my early test builds, so I did not run it at this local. I 100% regretted it. There is several times where I was in a position to evolve this into a Omnimon X-Antibody and just wreck house, and it wasn't in the deck. So don't be like me. Definitely make the room for it. I've ordered a second copy, so I would even say run 2 X-Antibodies to go with at least 2 to 4 defeats. It's not a bad move. X-Antibody Omnimon triggers all the effects, so he gets all the security +1, and then he stops hybrids from trying to swing for game because he can still remove his sources, which we have a lot of sources in this build, putting them underneath the Digimon to just stop swings for game, and then he attacks next turn and deletes a Digimon. It's fantastic. Definitely run Omnimon X-Antibody in this if you can. It works really nice. For our tamers, we are running 3 copies of Coda. He is our memory corrector, as well as a searcher, kind of like a Block Davis. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon with X-Antibody and its traits among them to your hand, and place the remaining at the bottom. And then we pair this up with 2 copies of Analog Youth. Analog Youth, on play, you reveal top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 Digimon card among them to your hand. Trash the rest. When one of your level 5 Digimon or higher are deleted and they have sources, you may tap this tamer to gain 1 memory and hatch a Digi-Egg. So I like to use these both for search options. I really got to do a lot to get pieces in hand. A lot of pieces in hand, because you do go through a bit of resources, so you have to make sure that you have resources in hand to put underneath, as well as extra resources that if you do lose your boy, you're able to still build back into something pretty quickly. I honestly feel more kind of inclined to bump up to 4 Coda, because sometimes I don't see him, and it's a real bummer, even at 3. The deck really functions off needing the memory correctors and getting in quickly, so not seeing Coda early enough, getting a memory choke can really shut this deck down pretty quickly. So having ample memory, very important. The Analog Youth is nice because if they do delete your big boy, if you get 2 of them out, for example, tap, gain 2 memory, that's pretty good. And he searches for any piece. So right now there's not a whole lot of X-Antibodies in the game. So while Coda is nice for searching for specific key pieces, he will mill a lot of things if you're just needing a general level 4 or 5 or something to Digivolve into. Coda won't hit it, where Analog Youth will hit any Digimon, so you can be a little bit more particular on what you pick, including the Zord defeats. For option cards, we are running 2 black memory boosts. This will help, like I said, with the searching, where we can search top 4 cards and add a black Digimon card to our hand. And then it is a memory helper. Next turn we can gain 2 memory. Combine this with the memory corrector, we can go to 5 memory, which is enough to go straight from the 5 to the 6 in 1 turn, do the full combo and have deletion protection. And then we are running 2 copies of Iron Fisted Onslaught for our hard removal. Dorugamon already takes care of a lot of smaller boys, so having something to be able to delete big boys of checking security, Iron Fist is good for that. So the name of the game is definitely getting out your pieces as fast as possible. Things like Dorumon and Dorimon allow you to draw extra cards and do a lot of quick searches, as well as gain memory as possible. You can move up early into your level 5 and be pretty safe. Its ability to add a source underneath allows us to avoid purple and yellow deletion options. Really the only thing that could get around it at this point is green swinging into it with a bigger body and forcing a suspend, but you can have ways to play around that thanks to the level 4 inheritable of getting extra plus 1000 DP. You can make this way a little bit bigger than your average level 5 Digimon. Hopefully you have enough with the memory corrector, maybe a black memory boost that you can go straight into the 6 at that point, so that when you attack and add in another source, you're deleting 2 level 6 Digimon, checking for at least 2 security, possibly 3 or 4 if you have the Sunarizamon and 2 DoruGreymons instead, which is a super aggressive build. You're doing it all in 1 turn. He has the deletion protection, so purple option cards, Gaia Force, Wyvern's Breath, none of those are going to hit him, which is fantastic. He checks super fast, deletes a lot of things, and then if we need to pop a tamer on our opponent's board just to make us safe next turn, we can go ahead and evolve into the defeat and pop a tamer. This will usually keep Dorugamon pretty safe, or as our opponent will not usually opt to delete him for fear of losing their own Digimon. And if they do not, on next turn we can evolve into Omnimon X, and now he has all of these sources he can remove to stop attacks, making it the perfect win condition. And if we need a little bit extra to be able to swing for game, Coda can evolve into Grumblemon and Grumble for game. And cards like our Gotsumon or our Mekanorimon will help slow them down while we build up these pieces. All in all, this is a fantastic aggressive build for black. It's really good this set. Be able to board wipe Bokomons and Izmons and a lot of the hybrids, as we're playing a lot of more level 4 hybrid Digimon, so it's a lot easier to delete smaller boys that are being played right now. We've had pretty good success against blue hybrids and green hybrids. We played against Diaboromon. We've played against red hybrid and done pretty well. Ideally, this build should be good against purple, although I've been having some issues with taking on my friend in purple. We just can't seem to get the pieces on right. In theory, if you get your pieces all set up, you have game, because this thing can just board wipe all the Izmons that get on board. You're not really too worried about them. If you do not get your pieces, though, Izmon can be quickly overwhelming, so it can definitely be a you need to get it all in one go or nothing kind of build. Same thing with yellow. We play against yellow in the finals, and we ended up just never being able to see our 6s. We were kind of stuck at the level 5 stage for the longest time, allowing yellow to build up we were able to it still went pretty close. We got pretty close in our security checks when we were finally able to get to a 6, but by that point they just had too much built up and we just couldn't close out the game. Things like Mecha and Gotsumon did really good for slowing down yellow. Really the only major options for them to avoid that is evolving into a bigger Digimon swinging over, or going into Shine Gray to burst with DP reduction, or a Wyvern's Breath. But those things are a bit more resourceful, and it basically stops them from swarming. Those kind of cards stop you from swarming, as Dorumon is a little bit slower than hybrids, but once he gets set up, he is clearing board and setting them back a good bit. And they're catching up very quickly with his multiple security checks. But hey, we did what we did. Second place, not too bad. Thank you for coming out and watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more Digimon content in the future. And let me know in the comments what you're playing right now. I want to hear about it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.